Record. Okay. Do you see a little thing that says recording?
I do.
All right. That's what. Anyway. Hello, everybody. I am Tony Beadle, President and CEO of Rockport Music. Welcome to an interview and chat with David Deveau, who was the artistic director of the Rockport Chamber Music Festival from 1996 all the way until 2017. That's probably half of the 40 years is sandwiched in there. And David, when you first got here, what would you say how you found the Rockport Chamber Music Festival, and what were some of the building blocks there that you are going to be able to use to continue onto your journey?
First and foremost, I would say that the founders left me with an extremely enthusiastic audience and an extremely committed group of volunteers. Because at that time, the staff was basically one full-time person and me. And, everything else was a volunteer effort. And I saw instantly when I started working with the organization that the distinctive aspect of Rockport music was the enthusiasm, the dedication of so many community members, even those who were not part of the board or part of the Friends of Rockport Music. But there was a feeling throughout the town that this was a jewel that needed to be continually polished and made welcoming.
And from your predecessors, you did change course a little bit in the kinds of artists that you brought in from into Rockport to perform. The vision initially was sort of to bring in groups and have them stay for an extended period, say a week, and kind of doing a mix and match. And there's some fascinating combinations in the recordings that I've heard from early times. But you had a different idea.
Well, my idea was less fun, I think, than the founders' idea, which was to have a great old time with the musicians who would be in town for a week, and they got to know their hosts. But I felt one of the things that I wanted to change was to have groups that were touring all year and were actual ensembles who made their careers as ensembles, string quartets, piano trios, wind quintets. Have those groups come because they would play at a guaranteed polished level. And the founder's idea, I think, is true of many, many festivals. That's a recipe that many use. And a lot of times you strike lightning with a mix and match. But then there are other times when it doesn't quite turn out that way. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to try a different recipe just to see how it would go. And, as it turns out, a lot of those groups and individual artists became regulars and came back year after year.
Right. And because you were a concert pianist yourself, it was easy for you to call up your friends like Garrick Olson or Russell Sherman, John Browning, etc., and they graced the stages as soon as you got here.
They did, and people used to ask, "How do you get these people to come here?" Because everybody knew that we were on a very modest budget, and the fact is, if you make the experience attractive enough and tell these artists that they're going to play for one of the best audiences that they're ever going to find, because of the audience's enthusiasm and, to be very direct, a sophistication. It is a sophisticated audience. Mm-hmm. People want to come. And of course there's lobster and champagne and other things that are fringe benefits. But those made up in the early days for fees that were quite a bit less than these people would usually command.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And like the early days, though, the breadth of the repertoire was amazing to me, with lesser known composers, women composers, and you brought in some significant new works that were commissioned by Rockport Music as well. So tell us a little about those.
I think the probably the most popular commission, because it made an instant hit with the audience, and it was so successful that I brought it back for a repeat several years later, was Elena Ruhr's Song of the Silky for string quartet and baritone, and just a haunting, beautiful piece. And we also commissioned from her later just a string quartet by itself. Gunther Schuller wrote pieces. Osvaldo Golehoff, who I admire immensely, came largely to my attention by the St. Lawrence Quartet, which of course Barry was in at that time. So, there are all kinds of triangulations in
Yes.
these relationships.
Yeah.
But yes, new music has always featured prominently in Rockport, and I think David Alfer is to be thanked for that, because he is a composer, and he wanted to make sure that new music was being heard.
And did you ever think in your dreams that a Shalin Performance Center would be part of your era here at Rockport Music?
It was certainly in my hopes. And the reason for that is that while we enjoyed a very nice tenancy at the Rockport Art Association, the limitations of the stage being very small, the backstage area being a little bit basement-like, and the extreme heat in the venue all suggested to me and many other people that we ought to be thinking big and looking for a new home. And we did so. We looked at a number of properties in Rockport and in Gloucester. But when the former Madras shop came on the market on Main Street, which is now the site of the Shalin Lu, we had a number of people on the board at that time who were visionary entrepreneurs and had started many businesses, and venture capitalists and people who were willing to risk a lot for a substantial reward. And that, I think, is the way we were able to accomplish building the hall, especially in 2008 and 9, when the whole world was crumbling financially. So we have those very generous donors and very visionary board members to thank.
Mm-hmm. So if looking at your time here, what do you think what legacy did you leave for Barry to do exactly what you did, to take stock of things and to take it to a different vision?
Well, of course, Barry comes with his own, we used to call them Rolodexes, but he has his own, connections throughout the industry. He's an artist himself. He knows from good music. And I think what he can do in many ways is take risks, and do so with the knowledge that he's got sort of a built-in audience that will trust what he does, because they've learned to trust that what we present is of high quality. And so I think, the sky's the limit for him. I mean, well, I should say the stage is the limit. He can't do the Eroica Symphony in there, but he certainly can do a lot of other things that will, I think, enlarge the repertoire of the organization and push new envelopes.
David, thank you for joining us and being part of our 40th anniversary celebration here at Rockport Music.
Congratulations to all.
Thank you.
My